I want to thank you all for coming out to join our discussion of the West and global Muslim communities, connecting through culture. We're very glad to have opened up this morning session of our conference to the La Pietra community to be able to share with you some observations and some stories before our participants move into closed session for the rest of the day and tomorrow. I want to begin by thanking Ellen Toscano, Executive Director of NYU Florence, for her generosity in hosting our meeting. Florence has been a crossroads of civilizations that continues today to bridge cultures through art and film exhibitions and festivals, so it's quite appropriate we meet here. And of course, Villa La Pietra itself has been a home to art and artists, an ideal setting for our effort. We're also grateful to the Doris Duke Foundation for Islamic Art and the Ford Foundation for supporting this conference. And we're glad to have you all here with us for these important discussions. What we've sought to do is to bring together persons who themselves and whose organizations are dedicated to enriching lives through the arts and culture, in particular through international exchanges. At the end, we hope to have inspired some ideas that could increase the flow of art and artists between Western and Muslim communities. I need not recite for you a litany of newspaper headlines from the last year to explain why we think this is so important. This morning's session is titled, In Our Time, Geo-Cultural Issues and Ideas. And my colleague Alberta Arthurs will explain a little bit more about what we mean in her talk. By way of background, the John Brademas Center of New York University is named in honor of a former congressman and NYU president, John Brademas. Our center conducts research, student and public programs in public policy, the arts, the humanities, education, and international engagement, all areas where John Brademas legislated as a member of Congress. While serving on Capitol Hill, John was animated by the belief that the arts and humanities enrich the cultural lives of citizens, and in particular, engagement with art and artists from other countries transmits a knowledge and understanding of other peoples, reducing international tensions and encouraging cooperation. This is the 5th international convening we've held on cultural engagement. Our first 3 in New York, Washington, and England tackled broad issues in the field, with particular attention to the role of government in promoting arts and cultural exchanges. Following each, we produced reports elaborating on the positive impact of engagement for artists, audiences, and communities, along with a series of recommendations for policymakers, such as better coordination among government agencies involved in this work, simplifying visa applications for artists, that government should work at arm's length with nonprofits and NGOs in the field, and the embracing of new media and social networking. But the truth of the matter is, not a lot of attention is paid to this issue by policymakers in the US. We have connected with those who do take it seriously in the hope that the findings and recommendations from our convenings can help them make the case for continuing but smart government support in this area. Following these initial meetings, we decided to narrow our focus to make a more sustained impact. In 2013, we organized a conference at the Rockefeller Foundation's Bellagio Center on the theme of US cultural engagement with global Muslim communities. There we gathered 19 cultural practitioners from the US and around the world, professionals who move art and artists between Western and predominantly Muslim communities. These practitioners represented the full range of artistic disciplines, from graphics, dance, music, and theater, to photography, film, new media, traditional arts, and poetry. Many, but not all, of these artists and professionals have institutional homes that serve as home base for this type of work, ranging from nonprofit organizations to art galleries, museums, performing arts centers, community centers, libraries, and arts and advocacy groups. Often they focus on engaging and educating local communities, and Zeba from the Doris Duke Foundation will talk a little bit more about one of their initiatives in this area. The work these professionals do on the ground helps create global cultural circuits. These networks, ranging from the casual to the more deliberate and formal, provide the connections through which art and artists flow. The artists engage live audiences but also increasingly online connections. The practitioners at Bellagio shared with us the practical difficulties and challenges they face, as well as the successes and rewards of this work. And those discussions helped us better understand the activity connecting Western and Muslim communities, and the impact on the artists and the communities that are engaged. We identified the actors involved in cultural engagement in the US and Muslim communities, professionals working as independent curators and producers, and nonprofit organizations and cultural institutions which organize exchanges. The types of activities these actors are engaged in range from the traditional to the experimental, from the most intimate to the most public of events. These include exhibitions, festivals, tours, residencies, concerts and theater, film and media, and literature and translation. And in a spectrum from intimate settings to blockbuster exhibitions, venues can be theaters, galleries and museums, but also colleges, libraries, festival sites, and community centers, as well as computer and smartphone screens. One difference that was revealed in research commissioned by the Brademas Center following the Bellagio conference is that in the US, unlike overseas, which tend more toward national festivals, cultural programs in this particular field tend to be local and regional in scale. Single artist residencies, one-night concerts, and small-scale local festivals attracting small to mid-sized audiences. The professionals we gathered at Bellagio identified their most persistent concerns in doing their work. These included exercising strong standards of curatorship, how practitioners select art and artists and decide how to present them, finding funding and support, identifying the best uses of technology, advancing professional development, particularly through more opportunities for travel and residencies, and mentorships, how to expand audiences, especially through social media, and designing effective evaluation methods to assess the execution and impact of projects. We heard from the practitioners the best explanations of and arguments for the work they do. They acknowledged that the diversity and depth of the work itself and the sheer amount of this activity, which only recently is coming into focus, is an argument for its support and expansion. They also identified how cultural exchange in the arts can help address the crisis in international understanding. The arts convey universally shared values across societies, values such as family, dignity, work, and creativity that offer a fuller picture of faraway places and communities. The arts offer forceful personal ways to move and educate people. Contemporary music and art forms, and especially transmedia online, can reach youth beyond global boundaries. The professionals at Bellagio also made the case that artists and cultural professionals speak at parity, with special directness and equality across divides. Artists work at par. Artistic institutions exist, and artistic discoveries happen everywhere, with artists and practitioners working with peers around the globe. And recognizing the value of the arts and culture is a way to recognize the fully comparable worth of all societies and communities. Our Bellagio convening also offered suggestions for how to expand and deepen cultural engagement between the US and global Muslim communities. Recommendations included improved research on the current state of activity and funding, and the Brademas Center has done some of that, the creation of working groups of practitioners to focus on questions of curatorship and program evaluation, efforts to influence decision makers, including advocacy with policymakers to improve visa and travel regulations, and outreach to the news media to increase the visibility of this activity, and an expansion of residency and travel funds, which would strongly impact work being done by artists, expand cross-border connections between practitioners and artists, and enhance community engagement. Research surveys our center commissioned last year have shown an emerging core of funders, projects and artists, which serve as hubs or centers of activity in this field, such as the Doris Duke Foundation and the National Endowment for the Arts, and we're very glad to have both their voices at this conference. Finally, we know there's more to learn. Building trust and engagement across cultures takes time. We should be prepared for long-term investments, initiatives, and programs in order to see real change. We hope over the next 2 days to further discussion of these ideas, as well as to develop new ones that will encourage more and deeper cultural activity and connection between Muslim and Western communities.